Cow Poked. Cow Poked. That's the name of the episode.
Cow or cow?
C-O-W.
Like you said cow.
Cow. Cow Poked.
Cow?
Welcome in, yeah, Cow Poked. Episode 498 of Three Guys Before the Game. It's the recap of West Virginia and Oklahoma State. Cow Poked. Prodded. Branded.
Growing up on a farm.
You know what that means, right, Hoppy? You told that one story that one time about when that guy used to come in there and do something with his arm all the way into the... Three Guys Before the Game brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, and efficient for 25 years. By GoMart. Go for good times. Go for GoMart. Get that rewards card from GoMart because every time you go in, you'll be able to build up rewards and then save money on food and fuel. But you have to have the card. Go to gomart.com to get the card. Three Guys brought to us by Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. They sell family fun, and they've got that fantastic special right now that we'll talk about later on. That entertainment pontoon.
Oh, yeah.
Visit LouWendellMarineSales.com. Later in the program, we'll break down the numbers with spreads on stats. That's brought to us by the Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. The CPAs who are not afraid of tax deadline day. You think that's probably a pretty good tag for those guys?
The value beyond the numbers was pretty good, I think.
They laugh in the face of tax deadlines. They don't get nervous like everyone else. All the other CPAs get hives all over them.
That's not necessary.
I talked to Mike over there at the Conley CPA Group, and he goes, yeah, we got it. They just say, yeah, we can take care of it.
He wants the ball?
Yeah, give me the ball. All right, let's bust this thing down, man. Textual healing coming up a little bit later. Spreads on stats coming up, plus whatever else we get ourselves into. West Virginia loses to Oklahoma State 48-34. Back and forth game that kind of had a basketball feel to it, and then oftentimes lead. In basketball, we talk about lead changes. You normally don't do that. In football, maybe happens once, maybe twice in a game, but this thing was like bouncing. This thing went 3-0, 10-0, 10-7, 10-10, 13-10. Then West Virginia leads 17-13. Oklahoma State leads 20-17. West Virginia leads 24-20. Oklahoma State leads 27-24. West Virginia comes back and ties it 27. And then it all hit the wall, 34-27, 41-27, 41-34, 48-34, final score, and West Virginia loses at home for the first time. The record is 4-3, and it is 2-2 in conference play. And we're going to pull all of the pieces apart. So we don't talk amongst ourselves before we start recording, so I don't know what these guys are thinking or what they're going to say, which is always kind of like you as the listener. I'm also interested in seeing what these dudes are going to say, so we'll start off with the gentleman from the Eastern Panhandle wearing his Kansas State lavender shirt. Guess it's lavender.
And Kansas State celebrating.
Boy, did they
lay wood.
Senator, did the K-States just absolutely? Whew. Anyway, that's their deal. We got our own deal. All right, Hop, what do you got?
A couple of things. One is that maybe the fans aren't going to want to hear that there is a lot of parity in this league. And yesterday, Houston takes on Texas, and Houston comes within a bad call on a spot late in that game and down at the 10-yard line to probably tying up the game. UCF and Oklahoma. UCF comes within a 2-point conversion of tying up the game and probably going into overtime. So, again, that's illustrative of just a lot of parity that we see week to week. And West Virginia, with the competitive nature of this league, and West Virginia just is not good enough to make the kind of mistakes that it's made over the last two games and come away with wins. And I know Spreads on Stats are going to have a lot more on that, but I think that's number one. The second thing is the five best players on the field yesterday. I'm not saying overall, but the 5 best players on the field yesterday, 4 of them played for Oklahoma State. Gordon and Presley and Daniels and Martin on the defensive side, and then I would put Garrett Green in there. So and Garrett Green was making plays, and I think we'll get to that fourth and 2 where he was trying to make a play and probably made the bad call there. I mean, probably didn't make the best decision, but so that the best players for Oklahoma State made plays, and that was a huge difference in the game, along with West Virginia's mistakes.
Thank you. Senator?
So a bunch of stuff to get into specifically. I think the overarching theme you walk away with is similar to what we said following the Houston game. Just too many mistakes, and your defense couldn't hold up when you needed it to. That's an offensive performance that should get you a win. In fact, it's the first time you've lost under Neil Brown when rushing for 200 or more yards. You were 13-0 heading into the game overall, 10-0 under Brown when you rushed for 200 or more yards. So just take that specific piece. Should have had the win right there. So you gave that back. Just too many mistakes, and again for the second straight week, a catastrophic mistake at just a horrible time. The Jalen Anderson not catch that turns into an interception when you're about to seize control of that game, flip that game. And yes, you got back in it against Houston but couldn't close. This one, you're up 4. You're about to get the ball back, fourth quarter, right? You were feeling good about the offense. The offense had figured out what it was doing and adjusted to Oklahoma State's adjustments, but I'll get to in a little bit. And you have the inexplicable running into the kicker. And I know there was a push, and I know Andrew Wilson-Lamp was going full speed, but, man, you just – and I'm not plowing new ground here. You just simply can't do that. A just critical mistake at a juncture in which you didn't need it, where maybe you don't end up winning that game. Maybe Gordon was going to be too much anyway, but you would have liked where you were at in that particular situation late in that game. So just too many critical mistakes and a defense that just couldn't hold up and gave up what was a near historic rushing performance to an opponent, almost getting the single game high in the history of this program. Came within 9 yards of that. So just I understand the frustration. I understand the frustration internally and externally. It's a game you felt you could win at home, and you just didn't do enough to get it done in 2 of the 3 phases.
And sometimes the mistakes don't hurt you as much if you're lucky, but 3 turnovers, Tony, and 17 points off turnovers.
And West Virginia unable to score any points off of the 2 that Oklahoma State gave them, including taking the ball over just outside of the 30-yard line after their muffed punt.
Yeah.
So you lose the turnover battle, 17-0. You give them 17 of their points as a result of that.
The other one, too, if you're looking, I've said this a bunch on this program, if you're watching throughout the game, a telltale sign continues to be field position. West Virginia was down significantly in field position for a lot of that game, lost it by 10 yards. That's almost an automatic loss. And I say this all the time. I don't have the exact number. I forget what the exact number is. It's like 95% of the time you win the game if you're plus 10 or more in field position. Mm-hmm. West Virginia was minus 10. There were just a lot of indicators there.
Yeah. Just extremely disappointing. So you just cannot find the synchronicity that you need in all 3 facets of the game. One shows up, one doesn't. You can't have that. To your point, West Virginia is simply not good enough to win games when it doesn't play clean football. And in the last 2 games, they have not played clean football, and as a result, you lose. To your point, you're exactly right. I mean, the UCF performance – you made you go like, wow, and we see that around the league. Houston, like it stunned me that they were even sniffing around Texas, and yet there they were with an opportunity to tie the game very late with just a minute and change to go. And so there are opportunities, but you have to play cleanly, which it did to win those games earlier this season against Pitt, against Texas Tech, and against TCU, and now you see what happens when you don't. That's one aspect of it. Also of extreme disappointment is the regression of the defense. This was a group that held its own against a really good offensive line and 2 really good running backs against Penn State. And you said, you know what? Okay, not too bad. And then they come in here and did a great job against Pitt, TCU. Bailey doesn't really get off. Texas Tech, Taj Brooks, you do a good job. And then all of a sudden, Houston runs the ball against you. And then you come back here, and Ollie Gordon, just goes absolutely beast mode, and he becomes Samaje Perine for Oklahoma, who ran for well over 200 yards. And while that's happening, your offense finally is showing some sense of rhythm and the ability to move the ball. So I think that leads to all of our frustration. We just say, can you just put the whole thing here together?
Tony, the Ollie Gordon, who is a good back. I mean, there's no question
Talked
about that.
about him all week, man.
I mean, he is an outstanding running back. And so the question to Neil Brown after the game was, well, do you think your defense was tired? And Brown, to his credit, just said, that's not an excuse. He said, was Ollie Gordon tired? He ran the ball 29 times, took a lot of punishment. He wasn't tired. He ran 150. He had 150 yards in the fourth quarter. So Brown was not going to make that, well, the defense was tired, not going to make that an excuse.
It's inexcusable. There are no excuses for that.
And it also, in addition, again, stating the obvious here, but it also can't be that easy with the game on the line.
Right.
That's the other part of that. It's not just that he went for 280, which is bad enough. It's not just that he went for 150 in the second. You were still hanging around that game with a chance to make them uncomfortable, and he just rips off 2 big runs at the end of that game with nobody even hitting him. Nobody even hit him with the game on the line. I think that's more of the concern moving forward here. And guys, Hop, to your point of these games in this league, there's going to be a lot of coin flip games, as we've talked about. Not a surprise. That's what's shaping up to be the case. And West Virginia had put itself in such good position to really make some noise in this league by going +2 in terms of wins that you didn't think they'd get based on the line, right? 2 significant underdogs to TCU and Texas Tech, and you won them both. But now the last 2 you've given back to that admittedly were coin flip games. 2.5, 3-point favorite there at home on Saturday. You gave those back, so now you fall to 1-2 because you got a win over Pitt. I know it's not in the league, but you got 1-2 in those coin flip games. That's the part where jumping out with those +2 wins as underdogs, you feel badly that you've given those back.
Right.
Three Guys Before the Game is brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. What's that all mean? What that means is when it comes to your business, they can basically do everything. All of the equipment that a business needs, they sell that, every piece of that. But even more so nowadays, to keep things safe and secure with your data, they provide IT support services, whether that is coming in and doing a consultation to show you where you're safe or where you're weak with your data. Can someone get into your stuff? They can tell you that. They can remote monitor to keep things in track. And when it comes to phone systems, from 1 line to 1,000 lines, they got all of that too. They are West Virginia folks. They've been in business now for 25 years, and they're great people to work with. ComaxWV.com.
The other shame of that yesterday is it was shaping up to be a really fun game. You mentioned the back and forth nature of it, Tony. And so during our coverage, one of the things I enjoy about it is having Steve Dunlap in there to watch and see different things that most people don't pick up. And he was raving about Oklahoma State's defense at the beginning, Tony, of how they broke their tendency from a 3-man front almost exclusively to going to a 4-man front. And you notice that West Virginia struggled those first couple of offensive possessions, right? Didn't look like there was any room available. They were getting pressure on Garrett, led to one of the interceptions. And then after about the second drive, Steve said the other, he goes, oh, this is really good. Neil Brown, this is really good by Neil Brown. The adjustment from West Virginia's staff and Neil Brown to a lot of unbalanced and moving both tackles over on one side and running the ball. I mean, just absolutely great adjustments offensively for West Virginia to counter what Oklahoma State did. So that was a really fun game within the game that was happening, and West Virginia responded tremendously well. I mean, Dunlap couldn't stop raving about the adjustments offensively that West Virginia made to what were very good adjustments from Oklahoma State. So it was really fun, and it was shaping up to be that way all the way down the stretch there until Gordon went nuts late.
Yeah, so you have the unbalanced line, which put the 2 high school teammates right next to each other, right? You had Milam and Nestor playing next to each other, and West Virginia went so heavy, unbalanced, they could have rented out. They could have leased the space on the other side of the field because they weren't putting any receivers over there. And, again, to counteract what those guys were doing. So you're right. The game inside the game was really, really interesting. All right. Let's jump in here. What are the numbers? What are the numbers? What are the numbers saying? It's time for spreads on stats.
So I check the numbers. We'll just go right to the numbers. Here comes a heater.
Let's jump into the analytics portion of the show.
Ready? 5, 4, 3, 2.
Spreads on Stats is brought to us by the Conley CPA Group. Who are these dudes? Well, they provide complete public service accounting and consultation, serving clients throughout West Virginia and our surrounding states since 1985. In fact, that's the same year that Hoppy bought the TV he's currently using at home. Conley CPA Group provides you value beyond the numbers. What do they pride themselves on? What is their milepost? Well, they do more than just numbers. They provide client-specific approaches to help you with your issues when it comes to your business, i.e., let's find a way to pay your fair amount, but not more than your fair amount of your taxes. Audit and assurance, tax planning preparation, consulting and advisory, and they also provide outsourcing for your accounting and CFO services. Visit the Conley CPA Group. So did you have any aha moments when you started to break down the numbers?
No, because this was one of those, I've said this a bunch, it's one of those numbers just basically back up what you saw in the game. This isn't one of those games where you need to uncover the hidden stat that says there's what caused it. I mean, Ollie Gordon caused it. That's why you lost. But there's some context around this. So let's begin with how we usually do on these wrap-ups by going back and looking at what we talked about Thursday and seeing if it came to fruition. One of the keys we talked about on Thursday was West Virginia's need and inability against Houston to get teams into passing downs. And we talked about this because pressure is the key to this West Virginia defense. And now as you're starting to get more data points, you can see that that's particularly true. In West Virginia's 4-game winning streak, Hop, they got to the quarterback. Right. And we kept commenting on that they were hitting the quarterback, pressuring the quarterback, all over the quarterback. And then, oh my gosh, the defensive backs are playing really well. Why is that? Because the quarterback was under pressure the whole time. That helps that back end. Quarterbacks at this level, you let them stand back there and have time to throw, you're in trouble. They're going to eat you apart. So pressuring the quarterback has been critical to this West Virginia defense, and being able to get teams into passing downs when you can bring that pressure and know that that's what's coming, that has helped West Virginia. Trey Lathan being out continues to be a problem, guys. I mean, one of your best pass rushers not being there has been an issue. But here's where the no pressures against Oklahoma State came. And it was two areas. The biggest is Ollie Gordon, as we've talked about. Much like last week against Houston, you just couldn't stop the run. Houston averaged 8.1 yards per rush in the second half last week. Kept them out of passing downs, right? Able to do, you weren't sure what they were doing, second and short, you're in good shape. Oklahoma State averaged 10 yards per carry in the second half. You can't do that. As we mentioned earlier, Gordon had 150 yards just in the fourth quarter. Here's the other part of that. Going into the game, Oklahoma State had been very good on first down, averaging 6.5 yards per play. Yesterday, Oklahoma State averaged 7 yards per play on first down. So you talk about staying out of standard passing downs, although Oklahoma State came in as a top 20 team throwing it on second down. How many times, and this isn't anything, how many times did I say that? Yeah, second down, Oklahoma State's going to pass, right. And they passed, right? So you actually, in non-passing downs, knew they were going to throw it on second down. I haven't seen the numbers on how many second down passes they had, but must have said it 15 times during the game, right? Yes. Before the play. Here comes a pass on second down from Oklahoma State, and there was a pass. But that leads to the second part of West Virginia's inability to get pressure. What was it? Well, Oklahoma State does a good job of getting it out of Bowman's hands quickly, right? He's one of the quicker quarterbacks in terms of getting it out fast, in terms of time holding the ball. And here's the other part. Yesterday afternoon, Bowman averages 5.8 yards per attempt. That would have been the lowest yards per attempt number in the Big 12 last year if that had been his season mark. So you just couldn't get there. A couple times you saw it, they flushed him out of the pocket, and there were good results. You just didn't get home enough on him. So all of that, those two components, Gordon running it, Bowman getting the ball out quickly and not throwing any deep passes, everything underneath, led to West Virginia not having Oklahoma State in very many passing downs. Here's the numbers. This continues. When West Virginia's won the game, teams have been in passing downs 39% of the time. In the losses, less than 26% of the time, including just 24% yesterday against Oklahoma State.
Say that again?
West Virginia was in passing, or Oklahoma State was in passing downs yesterday only 24% of the time. That's 15% less than what West Virginia had averaged in its wins for its opponents. So, I mean, again, backs up what you saw. You didn't see any pressure. You know that. That's why it matters. When West Virginia can't get teams in passing downs and get that pressure, they're in trouble. Yesterday, just 7 total pressures on the day. And remember the standard Sunday disclaimer from PFF. Some of those numbers change throughout the week as they get more film study. The early results, 7 pressures on the day, no quarterback hits, no sacks. And here's the concerning part. It's not just Trey Lathan being gone. The early success for West Virginia's defense was due to we'd come in here and it took a long time to talk about all the guys that were pressuring, right? There were multiple defensive linemen. There were linebackers that were coming. There were safeties, Burks and Floyd, that were coming. Last night, not a single pressure recorded from a defensive lineman. That's a big telling stat right there, because you've had multiple defensive linemen this year that have been very good getting in that backfield. You didn't have any yesterday.
And no one has said that Oklahoma State has a great offensive line.
There were holes there. I think the key to them, there were holes along that offensive line, and the numbers have shown that. They just did a great job of getting rid of it. I mean, it wasn't a hard concept. They just executed it flawlessly. Bowman had, nearly a 70% completion percentage because he was throwing everything underneath. They were just getting it out of there.
Okay, and so basically, to distill what you said, it all comes back to the old school belief, right? Who runs the ball can win the game. Well, you say, well, wait a second. West Virginia ran for over 200 yards. Yeah, they did. But Oklahoma State ran for more. And then the other part of that equation is who can stop the run wins. And West Virginia, again, failed miserably. Did not put them into passing situations. And as a result of that, they control the whole game.
Yeah, and can you get them out of their comfort zone of what they do? And Brad, just what you said, that West Virginia did not. That Oklahoma State did what they wanted to do.
Correct. They dictated.
Yeah.
They dictated to you. Yeah. So that continues to be something to keep an eye on. Can West Virginia find a way to get to the quarterback? Because now for a game and a half, they have not been able to do that, and that led to the downfall yesterday. A couple other just interesting numbers on the performance by Garrett Green. He continues to evolve and be such a weapon, right? Both legs and feet. I was surprised West Virginia didn't note this in their post-game notes. So take this, again, Sunday disclaimer with a grain of salt. I don't know why this wouldn't have been noted officially if it was the case. But based on what I saw from WVUstats.com, which is usually pretty reliable, Garrett joined some elite company in the 200 yards passing in a game and 100 yards rushing in a game. Near as I can tell, based on that website, it's only happened 3 other times. Pat White twice, Rashid once.
Wow.
That's some high cotton right there. That's a good company, right?
Yeah.
It appears to be the only player in West Virginia history to run for 115 or more and pass for 240 or more. Again, West Virginia did not note this in their release. Would have thought they would have that, so we'll have to see if that holds true. Bottom line, whether that's true or not, really good individual performance by Garrett.
And you know what's interesting about Garrett Green? I mean, he's your best player. I mean, he's the guy who can make plays for you. And on that 4th and 2, and Neil Brown talked about this, that Brad, the end for Oklahoma State, went upfield and didn't crash. So what's the book say you're supposed to do? Supposed to hand the ball off.
Yeah, what'd you say?
Yeah, supposed to hand the ball off because the end went upfield for Oklahoma State, didn't crash. If the end had crashed, then Green should have pulled it out. But the end went upfield, and so in that instance, that Green should have handed the ball off. He didn't, but Neil Brown sort of has Garrett Green's back because he says he's trying to make a play. I mean, he's a guy that he's the most effective offensive player, and if it was a mistake tactically because of what the book says you do there, he's trying to make a play. So, I mean, do you fault a guy for trying to make a play?
No, because I think sometimes we also lose track that Garrett is still, as you said, the evolution of Garrett Green. He's still in his infancy. I mean, has not started 10 games yet in his career. And so is he the finished product yet? No. Can the future look really, really bright for him? Yes. But unfortunately, he's going to go through some learning bumps on the fly, and that's what's happening. Here's also what's of concern in my book. Garrett Green should not be leading the Mountaineers in rushing.
Nope.
You're right.
Garrett Green should not be the leading rusher for West Virginia. Therein lies the other problem.
Justin Johnson was a nice complimentary back last night. He
Ran
had some nice
extremely
big runs.
well.
But no, you're right. That Green should be a complimentary piece. But again, guys, he's turning into such a weapon. That deep ball is so good. He puts it right on the money, and his ability with his legs. We've seen that time and time again. Credit though on that last. Let's talk about that last play for a second. And I fall on the side of that. Hoppy is okay. Should he give it? Okay, maybe should have given it to C.J. Donaldson. Looked like they was laying there. Maybe he gets first down. Kid's trying to make a play, and he's been your consistent playmaker all night.
Right.
So put the ball in the hands of your best player. Give some credit to Oklahoma State's Kendall Daniels. We talked about him on Thursday, number 5. If you were watching, he made the play on that last play. Got by Traylon Davis, who was on the edge. It looked as if Davis just got turned late and maybe didn't see Daniels crashing kind of behind him off to the side. Because if Davis could have got that block on Daniels, it looked like Green had enough room on the outside to get it. Neither here nor there. Credit Daniels from this standpoint, guys. We talked about him on Thursday. He got absolutely torched by Kansas. And Tony, we watched some game film on Daniels this week, and he was just so anxious to get downhill and stop the run. The Kansas tight end ran right past him 2 times on 2 consecutive drives for big touchdown passes. Well, the young man watched some film, Tony. Pretty good adjustment by Kendall Daniels, who's a really good football player. Talk to people around the league. They love him. Really good adjustment. Cole Taylor, 2 catches for 8 yards. Daniels was on him on that catch early that he just stripped the ball from him. Then Daniels with that big play late. There were no real plays down the seam. Preston Fox maybe had 1 catch down the seam. Daniels was in a good spot. And Neil Brown and company were trying to scheme him out of the box there. Is one of the things
that was the whole unbalanced stuff.
Steve kept talking about is trying to pull him out of the box and away so you had some more room to run, which worked, right? You ran for 226. As I mentioned earlier, that's the formula to get the win. You just didn't do enough defensively. But credit Kendall Daniels a little bit from Oklahoma State, who had a really good game following a game when he was really lit up by Kansas.
All right. Textual healing is coming up. But first, this reminder. Lou Wendell Marine Sales, located in St. Albans, has a special 3 guys special. There it is. For those of you watching on YouTube's, it's a 2020. You are looking live at a 2023 Avalon 2385 Entertainer. It's the top-of-the-line tri-tune model. You can do whatever you want. Water ski, tube, of course. Entertain family and friends. This bad boy comes with a Fusion, 6 lighted speakers, amp, whole deal, power steering, power assist, slate teak flooring. Got enough lights on there, you'll look like a spacecraft.
Nice stereo system, too.
Oh, you can play your hits while you spray your pits. Honda 150 motor and trailer. 3 guys before the game special. 89,774. That's 89,774. 89,774. But you have to tell them you're a 3 guys listener. And that baby is yours. And you can entertain and wine and dine with the 2385 Avalon Entertainer at LouWendellMarineSales.com. Textual Healing is brought to you by episode800.com. The number to call, and we're available on our automated text line day or night at 304-404-4083. 304-404-4083. Received a text recently that we don't give the number enough. So let me give it a third time. 304-404-4083. When we made that number, we just wanted to use few numbers, so we went 3040, then another 4, throw in another 4, and then another 0. Like the only oddball number is 8, really, because that's the only number that I think appears once.
Now you just confused everybody.
So 3s are in there twice, 0s are in there 3 times, 4s are in there 4 times, then you get one oddball 8. 30.
What's the number?
I have no idea. 304-404-4083. 304-404-4083. Brought to us by episode800.com.
I'll get 50% off.
Hey, real quick, before we begin the textual healing part of it, can we celebrate a victory? We've just had to mourn the loss and digest loss. Can we celebrate a victory?
Yeah, sure.
It's a monumental victory.
I know where you're going here.
Monumental, Kercheval. Like statues should be built. The code has been cracked. The code has been cracked. Hashtag efforting, hashtag team efforting on the time zone situation. And maybe, I don't want to pull a Caridi and overpromise that it's completely solved for the end of time. But in the latest release on Saturday, it included Eastern time first in proper order as it should. Not for every game, but for games in the Eastern time zone. They did miss one. I didn't know Cincinnati was in the Eastern time zone, but that's, I don't know. Get a time zone map. We'll send it over to the Big 12. But progress. Eastern time was included. And secondarily, the fine folks out at BYU should send a thank you over. Because maybe they don't get full revenue sharing in their first year in the league, but by God, they got time zone sharing a lot sooner than West Virginia did.
Yeah.
So
that's
to
true.
the BYU folks, Mountain Time Zone, come on in. All part of the club, helping you along as well. You didn't have to grind for 10 years as we did.
The evolution of how this happened is this. Obviously, we've been complaining about it for a couple of years now. And anyone that I could see that had, I thought, some form of juice, I went to and said, like, yo, like, what is this?
You had written communication, you had verbal communication.
I started it with a writing,
Yep.
and then I met with one of the guys from the Big 12, and I got zip. So, I get Ren. Like when I
hold on one sec, and we had very good support on Twitter, right? The fan base, the listenership.
They were there
did a
with
great
us.
job of attacking every post that had Central Time Zone. They ratioed them underneath. A great job by all the listeners as well.
So I brought it up again to Ren, and I said, dude, I mean, this is ridiculous. And he said, yeah, that is. He said, let me work on that. So he calls a guy that had not been brought in at the Big 12 office, had not been made aware of this yet. And the guy said, well, let me take a look at that. Let me see what I can do there.
Hadn't seen it up to this point.
Yeah, they were like oblivious. I think is the word. They were oblivious. So all of a sudden yesterday, the Saturday morning tweet comes out from the Big 12, says, here's our game times. Who do you think is going to win the game? And they listed, West Virginia, Eastern, First, and Central. It's not to Brad's point. I don't know if it's going to continue, but I do know the name of the guy now who got it done. I also have his email. So tomorrow, which is Monday, when they release the game times for this coming couple of weeks.
Let's see if they handled it.
If he doesn't, then I am absolutely going to fire one off to him and say, yo, what's the difference between Saturday and Monday? Consistently, let's go.
Well, kudos on all your discussions. Credit to Ren. One man with a belief, needed one man with a belief.
One man with courage.
Went in
That's
there
what I told
and
him.
listen, I mean, it's probably close to the point. I know they're going to immortalize Don Nealon on the stadium wall. I mean, Ren's not far behind. That's a pretty strong out of the gate first year as AD getting that done.
Well, look, if Ren Baker one day goes to another school and they'll say, what were his accomplishments at WVU, that will be in there.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if it gets Ren a statue as much, maybe a tattoo at this point. EST. EST tattoo.
Tony,
I don't know. That thing was going nowhere.
Yeah, Ren
We
took
had
care
a
of
lot
it.
of pressure being applied.
No, he did.
I mean, we were every bit of press Virginia on that thing, and it wasn't getting done.
Two kinds of people in the world, those who want to help you and those who don't.
Yeah.
Get to the people who want to help you and get stuff done.
Yeah.
Now, what I hope it wasn't, because the commissioner was here, was he not?
I never saw him, but he was supposed to be here.
Saw some
No,
pictures.
he was here.
Oh, he
Saw
was
some
here then.
pictures.
Okay,
Joe
yeah,
Bricotto
sure.
reported he was
So
here.
I hope it wasn't just the Big 12 providing the commissioner cover while he was in the Eastern time zone. And now that the commissioner will be back in Texas somewhere tomorrow in the Central time zone, that the Big 12 says, screw it, now we don't have to worry about it.
So
Hope it wasn't that, Kurt.
So you saw a picture of the commissioner?
No, Joe Bricotto, I think, reported
Did you
the
see a
commissioner
picture
was
of the
there.
commissioner?
I saw a picture of known West Virginians with the commissioner.
Suit on?
Oh, yeah, suit.
What are
It
we
was a
doing?
nice looking suit.
Well, yeah, he always wears really good suits, but game day, he can chill it down a little
No,
bit.
he could-
It was a nice
that's
suit.
his choice.
How about a pullover?
I mean, I have no problem with the suit. Suit looked good. I'll criticize him for his East Coast bias, even though he's an East Coast guy, but his suit looked really good.
Okay, fine. That's fine.
Probably stopped at Daniels before the game.
Well, he probably should have.
If he could have,
Daniels.
Peter Millar.
Tommy Bahama, Jack Victor.
Hart, Schaffner, and Marks. Hickey Freeman.
The old Enro shirts. Forsyth.
I don't know the names of any of these.
Johnston and Murphy shoes.
Cole Haan shoes.
Buster Brown.
He doesn't have Buster Brown.
All right, so here's what we're doing on textual healing. So, again, it's one of those deals where if we read every text that we receive, we'd have a telethon, right? It'd be like forever. So I went a different route today. Here's what I did using technology. There were a series of texts that in essence were saying the same thing. And so what I did is I literally took all of those texts and put them together. And I went to ChatGPT.
Oh.
And I said, okay, I am going to submit to you a series of texts that have a general similar theme. I would like you to condense these texts into a series of bullet points that in essence give a synopsis of what all of these texts are saying.
Interesting.
And it did. And so rather than just continuing to say the same thing over and over, I think what we've done is we've distilled the general consensus among many into a series of 5 bullet points. Okay?
Good thinking.
That's fair, right? Is that
Yeah,
fair?
fair. Good way to do it.
Otherwise, I just think when you keep saying, okay, where already said. So here we go. So we want to spend some time on these. 5 consistent themes based upon listener text and summarized by our friend ChatGPT.
Did a fine job.
Participant in the
Can we hire this ChatGPT?
program.
So here we go. Number 1. The Mountaineers' repeated mistakes, including personal fouls and turnovers, are a source of frustration.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's no surprise that is one of the number one complaints, and that's one of Neil Brown's number one complaints. I mean, after the game, he's sitting here going, for example, the running into your own guy on the punt return. He says, we practice that 3 days a week. Practice it 3 days a week, and then it happens. So, but I'm not making excuses, but I'm saying that lines up with what the coaches say is a point of frustration.
And the same statement was made about not batting the ball down against Houston at the goal line. Again, something they practiced, but something they did not execute when it happened.
Or the turnover on the ball in the end zone. So here's the thing, guys. But you didn't have those texts during the 4-game winning streak, right? We weren't talking about personal fouls or turnovers or penalties. So that's what happens when you lose games. It's going to be because of those things. It's going to be because of penalties, and it's going to be because of turnovers. So that's why that's a huge pop-up over the last couple games. They're games you've lost because of those exact reasons.
Point number 2 from ChatGPT, a concern over a lack of discipline within the program.
I suspect that's goes kind of tied in with number 1 of the personal fouls and the turnovers, and also the taking the helmet off, those kinds of things, which I think that people extrapolate out to a lack of discipline. Why would a player do that, et cetera, would be my guess.
Senator?
Same thing as I said in number 1. That has been true in the last 2 games. It was not true during the 4-game winning streak. So is that overall in the program, or is it popped up over those last couple of games?
Point 3, fans, general consensus, a lack of consistency.
Yeah, no doubt. But
yeah,
welcome to college football. Who's consistent? Alabama's not consistent. Penn State, so that's obviously a point. Offense was behind where the defense was during the 4-game winning streak. Some of that had to do, you were mixing and matching quarterbacks. Defense now has suffered some injuries, hasn't been able to keep up the last 2 games, and the offense has come along. You said that in the very beginning. You haven't been able to meld those two together. So lack of consistency, sure. That's why you've lost a couple games here, but that's also college football. That's what everybody's searching for. And by the way, we'll talk about that during basketball season too. We're going to come in here at some point and say, can they just put it together? That's college sports too.
Well, it's sports.
Not sports in
that's
general. But
that. And again, this sounds like it's making excuses, but I think it's observationally true. Is that I bet that those covering Texas and Oklahoma are going, where's the consistency? How can you do and go down and and not be fired
how
up?
can Texas beat Alabama and then struggle with Dana Holgerson's team and let them back into it? All right, it's just that's yes. Get that's a source of frustration. I think that's every fan base across America.
And same thing with Oklahoma. Like you can say, Oklahoma, how did you win the Red River rivalry and then come a whisker from losing at home to UCF?
I'll tell you why, because they looked like they were mailing it in. UCF was flying all over the place. Yeah. I mean, good team speed, and just they looked like they were playing harder than Oklahoma.
Number 4, General theme among the texters: disappointment about the team's dwindling national relevance and failure to be ranked in the top 25.
I think that's fair too, because the expectation over the years, because of the success over the years, the expectation is that you will have some national relevance. You don't have to win a national championship, but you want to be nationally relevant. You want to be in the discussion. And if you're not in the top 25, unless you're playing a top 25 team, you are not in the discussion. You just aren't moving the needle. So that is also a fair observation and a reasonable expectation by the fans to be at least relevant nationally.
Yeah, it's where you want to get, but that has been the story for this program since it's been in the Big 12. You finished in the top 25 2 out of 11 seasons. That's not a new development. You've 2 out of 11 seasons since you've joined the Big 12. You have not been in the top 25. So, again, absolutely a concern, absolutely a disappointment from where this program has been, but that has been a consistency since this program has entered the Big 12, 2 of 11.
The fifth and final point from the summation of the general themes of the texters: number 5, a desire for a coaching change to reinvigorate the program and restore its former glory.
Look, you've lost. You went into the season with a percentage of fans wanting a coaching change. I heard from one fan who actually said, "I hope they lose to Pitt so you can go ahead and make the change early in the season." You've lost a couple games, so that you're back on the coaching change, effort that's underway, and I get that too, and that's the nature of fandom. I would just caution and say, just be careful there. Be careful of what you wish for, and let's see how the rest of the season plays out. I think Neil Brown has earned the last 2 games really disappointing, but I think that he has earned the right to coach out the rest of the season and then have Ren Baker do his end-of-season program evaluation to see where you are.
I don't know that there's any debate about that. You're certainly not in a position where you would think about making a change right now. And to your point, Hoppy, yeah, see where the season goes. The West Virginia has shown enough good things here that you want this thing to keep moving forward. But there's also no question it's not a snap your fingers and change one person and this thing changes either. I think you got to be careful, right? You start to go down that road. You've got to find out. You've got to fix some elements, too, within the program. You've got to do something about that schedule. That's part of this. And you've got to make sure that the money is coming in. And if it's got to be via the trust, then make sure the trust is out getting its dollars. Because we've talked about this a bunch. You go back through the players that have been on this roster, but that are no longer on this roster, and you see that changes the makeup of that team and the program significantly. So you've got to find a way to retain. Well, what's one of the ways you're going to retain? Yeah. Sometimes it hasn't mattered. There's been weird circumstances that guys have gone away. That happens all the time. But you better get that money shored up and find a way to have the pool to retain guys and go get players moving forward.
To the texts as a whole. So that was the general consensus. Mm-hmm. So thanks to ChatGPT for the summation.
Fan of the program.
Yeah. As soon as we get the voice, will be replaced by the automation, folks. Gentlemen, as I watched Earl Campbell run through, around, and past our defense time after time, I continually thought about the fantastic running attack our beloved Mountaineers were expected to have this year. With the big, talented, and experienced offensive line, plus 3 solid running backs, including our own big guy, I couldn't keep my excitement to myself, telling everyone who would listen how we would dominate games on the ground. Realizing there are more issues to fix besides the run game, I have no idea if this team can right the ship. Tough day to be a Mountaineer wherever you may be. Signed by John in South Carolina.
I see what he did there with the Earl Campbell.
Yeah.
His team's a top 20 rushing team. Ran for 200-plus yards yesterday. That's normally the formula for a win. And did it with a patchwork offensive line. I think that's part of it, is that you just haven't had your starting offensive line. Remack being out's a massive thing. I've been saying that for 3 weeks. I know people don't want to listen to that. That changes the makeup of that line. That's not just one spot. You've had to take Brandon Yates, who drilled all offseason at the right guard, move him over to the left. That is a change in and of itself. So that's mattered. You ran enough to win yesterday's game.
But as you pointed out, Brad, that that's a deep running back field. The expectation was not that Garrett Green would be your leading running back. Correct?
No, but he was, and it was enough to win you the game. So of all the things to talk about, it's not the running game. Right now, quite frankly, it's not even the offense. The offensive game plan was outstanding. The adjustments were outstanding. Execution, for the most part, outside of the pick early, but you rebounded for that. That offense did what it needed to do each of the last 2 games to get you wins. That was not the issue here.
Yeah. Texter, I'm trying to find something positive from this team. Maybe it's a rejuvenated offense that can score points, but what has happened to a defense and special teams that was really good against Pitt, Tech, and TCU? Could it be because of better competition? That Houston game is a win 9 times out of 10. This game against the Cowboys lost in the fourth quarter. Please give me some positive feedback on how West Virginia can improve and win 3 more games this season. Right now, as I see it, I can't believe this team can win against anyone else on the schedule except maybe Cincinnati. I'm down in the dumps. Signed by Hot Rod from Woodbridge, Virginia. Remember him? We met him in Greenbrier County, had our picture made with him.
Didn't we?
Yeah, you remember him, Brad?
Yeah, Hot Rod? Absolutely.
Yeah, Hot Rod. Him and his wife came in from Virginia, drove up. Nice guy. Had his own podcast there in Virginia.
Well, I think the disappointment is expanded by the way these last 2 games have gone, the Houston game, obviously, and also you go into the fourth quarter with a lead at home, right?
Yeah.
And you lose the game. I mean, that adds to the disappointment. You would think you can finish and win that game, and you don't.
Texter, the officiating cost.
Hold on one second. I want to address Hot Rod.
Oh, sure.
Because I get these down the dumps here, but you got to look through this here. And what do I always say, Hop, about this business?
Well, you say it's a week-to-week business.
All right, so you can't just immediately pick up the performance and move it forward, good or bad.
Right.
So you've got to look ahead. But as you look down this schedule, UCF, BYU, Cincinnati, and Baylor, those are all games that are probably going to be in that coin flippy range.
Right.
So I don't look at that schedule and go, oh my gosh, you can't win any more games. I look at that and say, all right, you got opportunities to win. I don't know that you'll win all 4 of those, right? I don't know that I automatically write off Oklahoma right now. Saw UCF go in there and hang right with them. So I think there's a chance to win some games. Yeah, you got to clean up some areas, but that doesn't mean you can't just because you didn't on Saturday.
Texter says the officiating cost us the game. No calls on holds or pushed into the return man. Texter, giving up a stadium record for an opponent by 41 yards, breaking Samaje Perine in 2014, who had 242 on 34 carries, is awful for what was supposed to be a defensive team. 2 bank robbery-style turnovers with the Cole play, and then the muffed punt are incredibly unlucky, but should not happen at this level of football. Texter, I was hoping we wouldn't spiral, but I've had a bad feeling we're going to struggle to get 6 wins. The Senator may not get that money on the over for 4.5 wins. I like Neil, but it's time to move. It's year 5. He's under 500, and I don't think he has a killer instinct, especially in close games. Hope I'm wrong. Matt, Charlotte.
I think he's 26 and 28. Does that sound right? Or 27 and 29 or something?
In that realm.
Yeah. I mean, he's a game or 2 under 500.
Texter, Greg in Catlettsburg. Before the season began, I said to myself that this team staff would have to prove that they're not better than last place. Being 13th, 12th, or 11th isn't going to cut it. This is the conclusion I've come to. We're better than bad or lower class teams. We struggle against mediocre teams, and we have no hope or hope we don't have to play the good teams. We get a turnover, we give it back. We screw up basic fundamentals. I'm not going to continue to watch or listen to a team I have to hope gets lucky, breaks, or doesn't have a certain conference team on its schedule in order to have a good season. Like it or not, we are Rutgers of the Big 12. Good luck with the rest of the season.
Yeah, Rutgers has got 6 wins.
That stunned me. I saw that yesterday.
Yeah.
I'd like to play Northwestern.
But Brad just gave me
Don't start.
side
I'd like to play Northwestern.
Yeah, I'm not going to waste time on it. Yeah, I'd take their schedule.
Texter, I just saw the Oklahoma.
Rutgers. God's sakes. Go ahead.
I just saw the Oklahoma State mascot. That thing looks like it needs to tell the neighbors that he moved into the neighborhood. Chris and Marietta. Texter, the team seems to be in a different mental headspace since the bye week. Neil mentioned he wished he would have handled it differently. I just don't get what could cause a change like this. No discipline, 2 consecutive games after leaning on that as a strength before the bye. Texter, guys, great being able to pick up a couple of Kerchevals at a Morgantown gas station and enjoy them with my friends in the blue lot before kickoff. But what I witnessed in the stadium was awful. First of all, why can't we sell out a major conference game like this? Where are the students? Why were the fans quiet? This has to change. The crowd was flat from the start, and Ren Baker has to figure out how to get butts in seats. I'm not saying every game should be the same environment as the Brawl, but that crowd was awful. Secondly, I was in Houston last week, and I thought those mistakes and that effort defensively were aberrations, but apparently it is our identity. The toughness we showed against Tech and TCU was the aberration. I'm disgusted. The effort in the fourth quarter, beyond awful. We wouldn't stop Ollie Gordon even if we were playing two-hand touch. Tony, I know you say it's not as bad as we feel right now, but I've been to 5 games this year. We just aren't that good. It feels that bad. We are mediocre. At best, something has to change. Signed by Matt in Tulsa. Well, the most disappointing thing about that is now he's buying your beer in a gas station.
Yeah, I didn't know it was available in
Oh, yeah, we're all over Mount County now, Hoppy.
gas stations.
Oh, yeah. Wherever it needs to be.
All over. Widely distributed now.
The Kroger.
Well, because of Mona Supply, they got the Monongalia County distribution now. So we are in Monongalia County like you can't believe.
I have not had a Kirchhoff since the block party we had.
Yeah, understand?
Should have gone to the Oklahoma State alumni tailgate
Yeah, what
yesterday.
was
You
the
could have
deal
had a
on that?
Kirchhoff.
Yeah, that's later. That's later on.
Oh, it is? Okay, sorry.
Oh.
Didn't mean to spoil
Texter,
the rundown.
Matt in Morgantown writes, longtime listener, sometimes
Maybe
I'm a
you had
texter.
plan for something there.
I think you have all said this,
Screwed up a plan.
but Neil's done everything right from a program standpoint, except win. It's a shame. We find a new way to lose every time. Hoppy likes to reference music a lot, so let me try this. Bruce Springsteen said, when it comes to luck, you make your own. Part of me feel Neil is going to do everything the right way to make his own luck, but as luck sometimes goes, it's not falling his way. Hopefully it falls his way with 5 left. Thanks as always, Matt Morgantown. Texter, you wanted short texts? Going to be tough these last several games if we can't figure out how to get out of our own way.
Well, next week looms so large. You're going on the road. Defensively, you're not playing well. You haven't the last 2 games. And so, Brad, I don't know where Central Florida is, where UCF is after that game. I mean, are they pumped up because they almost knocked off a top-tier team, or are they like, oh, we laid everything on the line for that game, and now we're just not focused on the next game? I mean, who knows, right?
Either of those could be possible. Yep, don't know.
Don't know.
Texter,
They
caution.
did have speed. They did show speed.
Yeah, they got speed.
Oh, they got athletes, man.
Yeah.
Senator and I have done a UCF game before together. Oh,
Excuse me?
yeah.
Bowl game.
Bad Boy Mowers Gasparilla Bowl. We did the UCF Marshall game several years back.
UCF had speed then, too.
Oh, they were
Yeah.
cooking.
They can run.
Caution, in-game text. Can you not take a pee while watching a WVU game? I take a pee, and the punt muff happens. Can we just not make normal routine plays, knock down a Hail Mary, field an easy punt, make routine plays? Come on. Now, I would not go pee when the ball's still in play. Like, dude, when they go to break, then you can go take the pee.
There's plenty of commercials. You can find one.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
You know what's as you start to go through this luck, not luck, is the program not disciplined discussion. This is what gets difficult when you're evaluating programs and coaches. Is that true, or is it again? Jalen Anderson catches that ball for a touchdown, or even if he doesn't, and they bat down the Hail Mary, and it was 5-1 going into that game. And let's say the Oklahoma State game plays out exactly as it does. Mm-hmm. Are we having the same discussions, or you're 5-2 and it's different? But 2 individual plays. Andrew Wilson Lamp running into that punt return. How many times does that happen? That's not going to happen very much, right? Was that just a weird play by a guy that was pushed and he was running too fast and he didn't see Fox till late? Is that indicative that your program's in serious trouble? I'm having a hard time buying that that's the issue. That a couple individual plays are indicative that the whole program's in trouble. Or is it some bad luck? A guy didn't catch a pass that he catches 90 out of 100 times. And the 10 times he doesn't, it probably falls to the turf. It doesn't bounce into the guy's hands for an interception when you're about to score. Wilson Lamp, how hard is that to run into the guy, even if you are pushed? Most times, doesn't he run by? I'm having a trouble taking 2 or 3 plays that if they go the other way, change the complete narrative in this season.
Well, because I get what you're saying. And again, when the margin is that close, those kinds of things stand out.
But is there any guarantee that another staff would not have the returner, the gunner, the guy blocking the gunner run into the punter? Can you guarantee me
no,
that
no,
another
and-
coach wouldn't have that? Can you guarantee me that another coach wouldn't have a running back on a sure touchdown pass not catch it? You see what I'm saying?
I do. And look at it this way. Like, I guess it was the first half, or maybe the second half, when West Virginia had like a 3rd and 16 and black for Oklahoma State.
Interference.
It commits a pass interference.
Horrifically bad interference call. Is Gundy undisciplined?
Does
Gundy have an undisciplined program?
I'm trying to make is that if they lost the game, go, what's wrong with your discipline? Why is that guy making that on probably an uncatchable ball? So those things happen every game. It's just, do you have more than the other team? Is the margin so close that a couple of those things make a big difference?
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys. And listen, I took all the texts last night, all the name calling of me, all the
people call you names.
I can't say what I want to say. Yeah, I get called names. I got 10 people wanting me fired last night on the text line. Here's the thing. I'll just say this. I try and do these things with, I tell you what I think, and you can disagree with me all you want. You can call me every name you want. You can do all your bull crap on the Twitter and all that stuff at me. I don't give a shit. Bleep that out.
Keep it in there.
Here's the thing. Sometimes it's not just coaches. Sometimes it is. But sometimes you've got to say, and especially in this new world where you're paying players, sometimes guys just don't make the plays, guys. And that's okay to say too. Sometimes guys have to make plays. And sometimes guys make great plays. And Garrett Green took off on a couple of those scrambles and picked up a first down. I didn't stand up there and bang my fist and say that was a hell of a play designed by Neil Brown. He said Garrett Green made a great play.
Preston Fox
caught 2 balls on his back. That's a tremendous route tree. Tremendous route tree diagram that you got Preston Fox told him to fall on his back and then catch the ball. Tremendous job by the coaches there. We don't do that. So there's a lot of things that go into losing games. It's rarely just one thing. So again, call me all the names you want. Say I'm a Neil Brown apologist all you want. Whatever. Here's the deal. There's enough blame to go around on all this. And has West Virginia won enough games lately? No. And Neil Brown and that staff would be the first to tell you. But I'm having a hard time with the overarching narrative being it's one thing that's wrong with this program, because it's just simply not. It's just simply not. So there we go. Thursday's episode will be all about me, and call me all the names you want. That's just where I stand on this. There are multiple things that cause you to lose games. Done.
Well, that was well said. Texter spotted Kercheval being served to OSU alumni. There it is. So that was an Oklahoma State alumni gathering. Apparently it was before it started.
Not well attended.
But inside that wagon, if you look at the beer, if we blowed that up, there's cans of Kercheval in there. So they were drinking your beer.
At the Oklahoma State.
Now we're multi-state?
Yeah,
sure.
It's like welcome to friends from around the Big 12. Come on in, enjoy a
I wonder
fine
how
beverage.
they got. I mean,
because they went to a beer store and they just said, "Here, buy this beer. This is all good beer. Buy this beer." So
that's
there you
interesting.
go. You continue to do well on Untapped. Ranks really high.
Really?
Yes, consistently. As we come upon a year of your beer.
Should have had about 4 of them last night.
Yeah.
Didn't.
Texter, I'm enjoying a few Reese's skeletons while thinking about West Virginia's last 4 performances. Tech TCU, the Mountaineers really stepped up, found a way. Past 2, feels like they've underperformed, found a way to lose. I'm hoping this trend comes to an end against UCF. Let's go. Mountaineers from the high desert region of California. That's Jeff.
Jeff texted our text line last night during the show. He brought up these Reese's skeletons. I have not heard of that.
Well,
not know what
I'm
those
sure
are.
Gomart would have them, wouldn't
Yeah, I would think.
they? Remember to go for good times, go for Reese's skeletons at Gomart. And get your – hey, the thing about Gomart, you got to remember that. I'm just telling you, on Saturdays, go in there and get that triple points on those rewards.
You know, my love for the Reese's shapes is well documented.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot to mention this because we've got them at the house, Hoppy, now.
Oh, do you?
Which is dangerous. They come in, the pumpkins come in a smaller version.
Okay.
So not as small as the tiny bite-sized Reese's peanut butter cups, but a little bit smaller. Very, very consumable in one big bite.
One bite.
Yeah. So the mini pumpkins.
You don't
just
try
like
to stretch it out. You just.
I just go one bite.
Okay.
Very good with the coffee in the morning. Is that a good start to your day?
It's a start.
My blood sugar out of whack right to start the day.
Jeez.
Anyway, endorsement of Reese's.
Sam Wright.
Find him at Gomart.
Did you really have one this morning?
No, yesterday morning.
That's why you come in. You come in the studio. You're just like, let's go.
Comes
We're
in
not
hot.
on the air for another hour and a half. I want to go now.
Sam writes in, guys, Good to hear you guys give some men's soccer love last week. I've recently moved out of the area. I've got FOMO watching the Mountaineers on TV. But the Mountain State Derby, the first time I truly said to myself, I wish I was really there. Given the high stakes, connections of the programs, obvious geographic tension, I'd argue without a doubt that it is the most exciting rivalry on campus right now. Hoping they give us a run at the big one this fall, signed by Sam and Geneseo.
It's great.
Was a big win.
Great atmosphere.
You know, I used to attend school in Geneseo.
I know. You were Geneseo for 2 years before you transferred.
Yeah, and
Transfer portal.
first
Didn't
thing
have enough NIL to keep him.
First thing that comes to mind is Aunt Cookie's subs in Geneseo. Last time I asked someone, they said, yeah, they're still good. Anyway, P.S. I just found out my neighbor is a Houston grad, so my trauma continued right until the next kickoff. From Elkview, hey, three guys, I'm officially off the train. Can't defend them anymore. Oak State running back and O-line better than Penn State? No. Lack of effort falls on coaches. Brad, are there stats on teams beating themselves with stupid plays? I would bet 80% of the losses under Neal are ridiculous stuff that causes us to beat ourselves. That has to be poor coaching of the players.
Didn't that? I think you guys said something earlier about the Oklahoma State offensive line, but didn't that Oak State offensive line perform pretty well yesterday?
Oh, performed very well.
Oh yeah,
yeah, won the battle. Absolutely.
My point was, it's not like they're
great.
sitting over there dripping NFL guys. Is my point.
Okay.
Yeah, they played. Yeah, they lost a couple guys during the course of the game.
Yeah.
I don't know. That offense might be better than Penn State's now. Penn State's offense hasn't done anything. It's been part of the criticism. It didn't do anything yesterday. I know it was a good opponent, good defensive opponent, but you know, it's amazing. What the heck was Gundy's a really good coach? What were they doing the first 3 games of the season with Ollie Gordon not getting the ball?
Preseason.
How possibly did you come to that conclusion?
Preseason. Quarterbacks, preseason.
I mean, that's a tremendous staff, right? Gundy's been to however many bowls he's been. He's one of the most. How are they not getting him the ball the first 3 games? What are you doing? You got a good answer for that?
Well, they were running the wrong stuff. They were running zone stuff. They went back to gap scheme stuff and let him run up and down the field.
But he also wasn't even on the field.
No.
It wasn't just the blocking. He was not getting snaps. How's that happen?
You know, he's an interesting running back because the template for running back today is usually shorter, stockier guys, right, that muscle up in there. Maybe they have good speed. He's I don't want to say lanky necessarily. He's got long legs.
He's long for a running back.
Man, he's long. And when he goes running, when he takes off, you go, doesn't look like he's running that fast, but he is. I mean, he's really good.
He brings it. Charlie from Midlothian. Hoppy, I've got your back in case Professor Vinny doesn't chime in. You should have thrown your red handkerchief challenge flag when Brad challenged your Hail Mary success rate. He was suggesting that the 10% success rate was too high based on the total number of games that are played. The success rate should be determined by the number of completed Hail Marys per total number attempted.
Correct.
Not how many games have been played. Brad is now penalized 15 Reese Cups for targeting your stat.
Disagree. I mean, just disagree. The point was winning the game on a Hail Mary. That was the discussion. Thanks, Charlie.
So you don't want me
But my stat was success rate on Hail Marys.
Well, here's someone else. Hoppy, I don't know if your 10% success rate stat is accurate, but I do know that Brad is wrong in his reasoning. The correct calculation would be number of successful Hail Marys divided by the number attempted, not the total number of games played. Hail Marys are attempted very few times. The situation is really applicable. Thus, the reason for the higher than expected percentage. Hoppy for the win. Signed, irregardless.
Disagree. Go ahead. Next.
Texter. You guys will like this one. Hi, it's Morgan from Charlotte, North Carolina. My boyfriend Connor is a WVU alum, huge WV fan. He's always listening to your podcast, and in turn, so am I. He has patiently explained the rules of football to me and will answer all of my questions when I have no idea what you guys are talking about. He is taking me to my first game against BYU.
Awesome.
I think he would die if this was a text that was read on the podcast. In a good way, he'd die. Thanks. Well, Morgan, revive Connor because we just read your text.
Congratulations. Welcome to the Mountaineer Nation family.
Yeah. Texter. I am forced to listen to you three while traveling in the car with my husband.
I'm getting a vibe here, like that certain female listeners are forced to listen to it.
Being a West Virginia girl, I have heard and seen a thing or two. But on our most recent trip, you guys were talking about a 10-foot Slim Jim. Slim Jims are right up there with pepperoni as being a mystery meat, but from the time to time, they hit the spot. But I've never once seen a 10-foot Slim Jim.
What?
So is this a real thing, and have I just missed it, or are you just bloviating to make the story funnier? Sincerely, a concerned citizen, signed by Karen from Sarah Ann.
Did you just call her a Karen?
She said Karen from Sarah Ann.
Oh, her name's Karen? She
Yes.
wasn't being
No,
a
you didn't
Karen?
call
No.
her a Karen, no.
No, that's her name.
Oh, I thought you said she was
What
being
is
a
Sarah
Karen with that
Ann?
name.
I don't know. I've never heard. Is that a place?
I don't know that. I don't know that place.
I don't know that.
I don't know the place you're speaking of.
Well, let me
You're gonna Google. You're gonna use the
I'm gonna
Google.
Yeah, Sarah Ann.
I'll do it. You work. I'll do it.
I don't see it.
Sarah Ann, West Virginia, or
I don't know. Sarah with no E at the end. West. Yeah, Sarah Ann, West Virginia. Says it's a census-designated place. What county?
Logan County.
Logan County.
Logan County.
How about that?
Yeah. Let me see.
It's a bit of a small community. The population is 188, and it
See what
takes a
it's-
geographic space of 1.8 square miles. If you break down the map there, Sarah Ann, it's right near the Lower Dempsey Branch area there.
Named for Sarah O'Toole, according to the Wikipedia, wife of coal company official Edward O'Toole, and Ann Shanklin, wife of the coal company's coal town doctor, Dr. Shanklin. Deep coal town.
Senatore, what is box? What is box below me here?
Oh, it was a gift from a listener. Tommy Boy in Independence.
Do we need to
frequent
open it?
texter? Yeah, we need to open it.
Well, go ahead.
You want to do it now?
Yeah. We got a big box of stuff. Meanwhile, our FBS wins, teams we've beaten, have a combined record of 9-14. The offense and defense never perform well at the same time. I would say on the basketball season, however, our best player probably doesn't become eligible. At least we have soccer. Or just forget sports. Let's go food. What's your favorite barbecue? Brisket, pulled pork, ribs, or chicken? Has to be brisket for me, with ribs being fourth. I love barbecue, but I think ribs are the crab legs of barbecue. Too much work and mess for such little meat. Yeah.
Brisket for me.
Yeah, if you do it right, but as you know, it's hard to do.
Oh yeah, if it's not perfect, then
what do we got?
I don't even want it. What do we have?
Tommy Boy in Independence.
Okay, Tommy Boy in Independence. So, oh, sweet mercy. Here comes
What's this?
hypoglycemic shock. Look at that thing.
Oh, geez.
That is a 38-ounce bag of M&Ms. Man, that is like crack right there. Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Hot
Tommy
tamales
Boy
for
nailed it.
Hoppy. What do he give you?
Big M&Ms for you.
You bet you get Reese's.
Hot tamales.
Good
Big bag of
Lord.
Reese's.
Dude,
Thank you.
Big bag of Reese's. Thank you, Tommy Boy.
Thank you.
certainly appreciate
You can
that.
open those hot tamales. I can use one.
I'm gonna wait. I got 1.8 pounds. Great for
Oh,
sharing.
that
it
is
says.
nice. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so very much. All of these items available at GoMart. Go for good times. Go for GoMart. Oh, back to her question regarding the 10-foot Slim Jim. So does Slim Jim make a 10-foot Slim Jim? Kind of like the Mothman. There are those that have absolutely seen the 10-foot Slim Jim. There are some that say no such thing.
Mm-hmm.
So the answer is yes.
Also, and sometimes, did you ever have anybody in the family, and my father was like this, that told stories and was a good storyteller, and maybe they embellished just a little bit, didn't really change the story per se, it wasn't a lie, it maybe was a little embellishment.
Sure.
It makes the story better, maybe just rounds it out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing.
There's actual measurements, and then there's perception of measurement.
Perception.
Perception of measurements. Did Tommy Boy write you like a handwritten letter there?
Yeah.
Senator? What's he saying?
You don't
there?
get those much anymore.
No. It's an
Just
old
said a lot of
lost
things.
art.
Just wanted to appreciate the show and send us this coffee. He says he thinks this would go great with the West Virginia roaster coffee that y'all drink on the show. See? The chocolate mixed with the coffee.
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
It's very good. I like that.
Your
He also
breakfast.
wraps up by saying, just remember that if you all do a show in West Virginia South, a.k.a. Myrtle Beach, we always have a place to stay at the beach house there located at Ocean Lakes Family Campground. It's right there at the intersection. Big place right on the beach.
You know what that is?
Yeah, I know right where it is.
Okay,
Used to
cool.
Stay right just north of that. Yep.
We probably need
Thank you,
to
Tom.
do that.
Appreciate you.
Are we
Texter.
camping?
No, it's just it's a campground. There's a place for campers, but it's got houses back there too.
Okay.
Yeah, it would be more in the houses. More of a house.
It'd be fun if we camped. That'd be hilarious.
No, it really wouldn't.
Go ahead and take the house.
My wife is from Illinois and just doesn't get it. The it is that no matter where we are in the country, if I see someone with a West Virginia shirt, hat, or a license plate, I talk to them. And it's like we're long-lost relatives. Signed by Phil in Dayton. Yeah, I mean, that
Like
happens.
his wife is somewhere and he sees somebody's got an Illini hat on. I mean, just doesn't going to mean
You see
anything.
someone with a West Virginia stuff, you got to find out, right? You're like, okay, what's your deal, right? Okay, texter. Listening to your last podcast where the gentleman from the Kanawha Valley married a New Yorker who now resides in the Adirondacks, he mentioned how therapeutic it was to run into another West Virginia fan in an orchard upstate, like finding a friend that he hadn't seen in decades. Hoppy responded, Mountaineer fans will find each other. And that prompted me to write. Last month, I flew in to Pittsburgh from Kansas City to spend the weekend at the WVU Fantasy Basketball Camp. Time spent at Kegler's and on the hardwood with the band of brothers, one of the best weekends of the year. It was exciting to be around the team, and in particular, Coach Eilert and the young coaching staff that he's put together. The high energy, attention to detail, determined focus, skill development by Deshaun Butler, Alex Ruoff, DeMar Johnson, and Jordan McCabe during team practice was really impressive. The experience and the advice of Coach James Dickey will add balance and tremendous value as well. You wait till you guys meet him. He's a good dude. You're going to like him. The weekend made me so excited for the season. As I scrambled to leave the Coliseum and bolt for Pittsburgh's airport on Sunday, both extremely sore and elated to have my camp championship trophy in the passenger seat, tongue click, and huge thanks to Coach Ruoff as we defeated Team Butler in the title game. I thought about how special it was to have campers living all over the country that come to Morgantown for the weekend and all share common interest, passion, and love for the university and this beautiful state. The few days we spend together are a gift. Tony, when you mentioned fellow camper and Texan Chase Hernandez bringing you gifts while in Houston for the game, I messaged Chase. He thanked me and went back and listened, and we both talked about what all things are great. Thanks for having you and everything that you guys do. Your podcast is informative, enjoyable, comforting, and a taste of home that connects people in ways you probably would have never imagined during episode 1. I run 5 miles and listen to it while I'm stressed at work, and it's the best part of my day. Just hope you three realize the positive impact you have for so many. And there he is with his championship trophy.
Well done.
Congratulations.
That's Rick. Now, he didn't say what he is.
With Coach Ruoff?
Yeah, with Coach Ruoff. That's Rick. So he's a lawyer in Kansas City.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, he ain't like a regular lawyer. Like,
What does that mean?
well, you know, there's general lawyers, and then there's, like, super special lawyers that do, like, the really super, like, crazy hard stuff at the, like, top of the percentile stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he does.
Not sure I follow you, but
Well, he ain't going to do your deed.
All due respect.
With all due respect. I mean, he's also not going to probably work on, like, filing your papers for incorporating. It's like crazy stuff with B's in it, like billions.
Like
that
his
kind of
shoes
stuff.
there. Well, you get those shoes? They
Yeah,
give you
probably
those
got
shoes there when you
over
show up
at-
to fantasy
yeah,
camp?
probably got the stuff at the camp.
It's good gear.
now was that his play or Ruoff's coaching?
Well, probably Rick. I mean, probably a great player.
No, it's only coaching.
Yeah.
Never has anything to do with the player.
Never has anything to do with the
Yeah,
player.
how'd you coach him to shoot the basket? Never matters if you make the shot.
All right, here we go. Last one. Ben from Youngstown, Ohio. This story is to show Hoppy that other couples also argue about when the peak fall colors show up. Last week, me and the girlfriend took a hiking trip to Hocking Hills State Park located about 45 minutes southeast of Columbus. When we booked the trip in late August, we had a debate about which week would have peak colors. My contention was that the 16th through the 19th would be peak. She was adamant that the 23rd through the 26th would be better. I pulled off the 20-point upset and won the debate. Therefore, we booked the trip for 16 through 19. For the last hour of the drive, we saw very little color. I was lectured about just how wrong I was during that the entire time. However, when we got into the park, well, the colors were perfect.
Mic drop.
By the second day, I would say those colors, well, they were at peak. Speaking of things at peak, unfortunately, it looks like WVU caught Houston and Oklahoma State at their peak.
Yesterday, before I went to work, and I mentioned the fact that Karen and I argue about two things, landscaping and when it's peak. And then it was outside the house, there was a tree, and I said, "Sweetie, come here and look. I think this is peak." And she looked at it and said, "I think it is."
Oh,
Found
agreement.
common ground?
Found common ground, hug ensued, bliss at the Kirchhoff household.
They fired up the best Leaf music that they could find, and they celebrated together.
Did you open those M&Ms yet?
I was going to, but I didn't want to start because then, as you well know, when you eat that kind of stuff, it causes potential coughing situations. But in about 42 seconds, that bag's gonna be just cooking just fine. All right, did we solve anything?
Well, I think we got together. We shared some laughs. We shared some information. I think it was productive.
Okay.
I feel good about it.
We're back Thursday to preview
Don't forget about this.
UCF. What do you got there? What?
Hoppy made his first wager ever yesterday.
Oh, did you? What'd he do?
No, Brad, you tell.
Took the historic under in the Iowa-Minnesota game.
I saw
he
that.
went under.
22 points total
Under
scored.
30.5. Kirchhoff hit it.
You won $5.
462, I think.
462 after the juice.
That was just the return of the 5 that he had to put in.
He gave it after the juice.
Yeah, there's a little juice on it. You got to take the juice out. So there's 462 coming to him.
I never bet, but we are fascinated by Iowa
The
and
under.
the whole situation there, and it was against Minnesota. So when I heard that the over/under was 30.5, I asked Brad. I said, "I have got to place the one wager in my life." So I took the under and now I'm cashing the ticket, Brad.
Cashing. Is this the week we find out the eligibility of Raekwon Battle?
Well, they said before the season begins. I know it's a charity event, but
they
season
play
begins
Friday.
Friday, right?
Yeah, they play Friday.
Well, it took 4 years for Kansas. Might take 4 years for this.
Big decision.
Special thanks to our producer, Luke Rousey. Thanks to all of our texters. We're back Thursday, as I said, for the preview of UCF. Three Guys Before the Game brought to us by Comax Business Systems, keeping West Virginia's business data safe, secure, efficient for 25 years. By GoMart, go for good times. Go for GoMart. Get your rewards card. By Lou Wendell Marine Sales in St. Albans. We do strongly encourage you to take advantage of that wonderful special that we talked about on that, for those that are watching, that particular craft. Tell them you want the Three Guys special. And Three Guys brought to us by Conley CPA Group, providing value beyond the numbers. That'll do it for us. We be done. 498th episode into the book. Thanks for being with us. Three Guys, over and out.